Hello there, and welcome to Talking Devils, your number one independent Manchester United podcast. Today, I am delighted to be joined. It's been a long time since me and Mr. Diller conversated live about Manchester United. I'm joined by Mr. Kyle Diller, all the way from, well, not all the way from me. He's only around the corner, all the way from Chicago. Um, so it's a good afternoon to you. It's a good evening to people in the UK, and it's a good morning to me in California. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? It's a good weekend when United wins first thing in the morning on Saturday.
Oh shit! I mean, for me, it's a 4:30, so my weekend's just beginning. So it's a good weekend. You get the
Yeah,
whole weekend of I don't care anymore.
I know.
It's great for you. It's what you cook 2 hours ahead of me.
Yeah,
2 hours.
so 6:30. Yeah, you start off the weekend. It's a win. You don't have to worry about it the rest of the weekend. It's carefree living. It's perfect.
It is. It is. That's the only. I mean, that's probably the only benefit of having to drag our asses out of the bed at 4:30 and 6:30 in the morning is that if we get a win, it's good. If we don't get a win, you can't really go back to bed, can you? You're
I
like, oh,
know. It's the worst. Yeah, that's my thing. Is as soon as they win, it's like, all right, I might go back and relax for a little bit. Maybe try to take a quick nap. It's yeah. I mean, you're feeling good after that. So
there you are. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much of that over the past couple of years.
no.
But this weekend there was Manchester United won, Southampton nil. Where do we start? For me, it wasn't the greatest game, but I think from a team performance, it was very good. A couple of things to note: it was our first away win in the league since February, which was like this was our eighth. We had seven defeats in a row, so it was glad. I'm glad to get one on the score sheet there. But let's just start off with how you felt the first of all how the team played, and secondly, with Ten Hag going with the exact same team that we played against Liverpool, which was a bit of a surprise for me considering we just brought in Casemiro. How did you see the game, and what did you think of his selection?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what a difference a week makes because I think when we did this podcast, we lost both of our games. That was before the Liverpool match, so just nice to have a little bit more positive feeling about United. I think it made sense to go with the same 11, just because of how they played Monday. I think they proved, put in a good performance. I was a little surprised because they put in a lot of effort on Monday. I would have thought he maybe switch up a couple players here or there. They ran a lot, which I think was the intent after the Brentford game and the very fitting punishment that I think they went through. But yeah, I think the team played really well. It was by no means a classic. But that was very much a game that I think we would have lost last year. It was nice to see them grind it out, to get a goal, even though they weren't playing their best football, and then hold on to the lead. That's exactly how I felt after the match. I could have seen us in the same situation last year, maybe scoring that goal and then conceding late, maybe even conceding a couple late and end up losing that match or getting a draw. So to see the defense really hold it together was nice. I was surprised that Casemiro wasn't involved until later in the game. But I think we'll see him more pretty soon. I think it was just a matter of he didn't want to break up things with the Liverpool after the Liverpool result. And also I think he's just kind of easing Casemiro in, although with a player his quality, I don't know how much easing then you really need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit surprised Casemiro didn't start. I mean, he had 2 or 3 days, training with the team. It's not as if he's not used to very, very big games. And I think Southampton away probably not in that realm.
No.
But I can understand it. When you bring a player in, you want to ease him in. Casemiro comes in. Is this the end of Scott McTominay and Fred? As getting into the team. My assumption is yes. I think we're going to be using them very sparingly. Maybe maybe in League Cup games, FA Cup games, but. I do believe both players will not be a part of the team going forward. And just to jump back to the Casemiro, I think social media reacts very differently when Manchester United go in for a player and they buy a player. Everything from panic buy to we're just throwing money anywhere now to sign anyone. I personally don't believe that. I think Casemiro was on a list of players. Because we all know each club, they don't just go after one or two players. They have, fallbacks for each one. I think Casemiro was on there. But privately, they probably thought it's never going to happen. And then what I'm led to believe is that in a week or two ago there was sounds made out of Real that he was interested in moving, and Manchester United made a move. Still a surprise. What did you think of that move? I mean, let's be honest. He is one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. Unless you listen to Graham Souness, and he's actually one of the worst. And he's only good because he plays with good players. So I mean, right out of the blue, Casemiro, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really it kind of came out of nowhere. It's like it picked up steam, and then all of a sudden it was done. It was announced, which just goes to show that United can get transfers done without all the drama that seems to come with anytime we try to sign a player these days. But yeah, I mean, pleasantly surprised. One of the best players in his position, and for all the talk that was about De Jong all summer. I actually think Casemiro is a better fit for this team for what this team needs. I think they really needed a true out-and-out defensive midfielder to allow players like Eriksen and Bruno to roam a little bit and have a little bit more creative freedom. And I don't think you were going to get, you'll get a deep-lying passer with De Jong, but you weren't going to get a true defensive midfielder. So I actually think this ends up being a better fit. Even if he wasn't the top name on the list. So I think it's perfect. The backup plan, I think, was a better plan in the end.
And sometimes it falls that way. I'm a big Frankie de Jong fan myself. I think I would love to get him as well. I'll be honest. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen. But you mentioned Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, when he came to Manchester United, let's be honest, he dragged us through about 18 months of just dire football. And then, and Bruno is one of my favorite players at United right now. If he can just curb the complaining. He hasn't had the best of 6 months, to be honest, leading into the end of last season. He missed a couple of sitters in the first few games as well. Oh, yeah. But boy, he took that goal really well on Saturday. And he had one of his better games in the past 6 to 7 months. There seems to be, a bit of enthusiasm about him now, because I think, in my opinion, his enthusiasm was being filtered in the wrong way. He would constantly be berating referees. He wouldn't be getting fouls that he should have got, because I think referees have his number. What do you think of Bruno Fernandes over the past 6-7 months, and taking into consideration that was a whopper of a goal he got the weekend?
Just an incredible goal. First off, yeah, I mean, it's been a struggle, and obviously when a player goes through that length of a dip in form, you start to ask questions. I think he's shown that his quality is immense, and you count on a player like that to figure it out. I think he's going to figure out. I think he's coming out of it right now. I thought he was excellent in the Liverpool game, the level of effort he put in. So I think he's had 2 back-to-back really excellent performances now. I think he kind of it's weird because they play on the national team together, but he really seemed to struggle once Ronaldo came into the team. It seemed like their style of play didn't complement each other very well. And I think Bruno played really well when he was kind of the focal point of the United team. And then when Ronaldo came in, obviously he became the focal point of the team. And I think Bruno kind of took the back seat, and we haven't seen the best of him as a result. I don't think that's really benefited us. Whether or not Ronaldo is still here in 4 days, I don't know. I'm leaning towards probably not. But I think we'll continue to see more and more of the best out of Bruno. I'm hoping that a couple good goals, like the one we saw this weekend, and we'll start to see the player that we're used to seeing. And I think too, you can kind of see what Ten Hag wants to do with the attack. When Ronaldo's not in the team, kind of the fluid front three. And I think that's going to really benefit Bruno as well too, because he can kind of be that creative playmaker, and feed those three instead of always kind of trying to focus on getting the ball to Ronaldo.
Harry Maguire was dropped again. We had Varane, and we had what the media would lead us to believe, 2'3" Martinez, who we borrowed from, Snow White and Disney. Martinez again, man of the match. I think, me personally, I think Harry Maguire's days are numbered. If Varane says fit, that's my only concern. He hasn't had the best of years with his injury record. But then again, when you're carrying like Harry Maguire on your back every week, and that extra weight, you're gonna pick up injuries. But joking aside, Varane, Martinez, two fabulous games they played. Martinez, man of the match in both, an absolute beast. Happy with that signing? Happy with that partnership?
Yeah, I think Martinez is going to become a fan favorite very quickly, if not already. I love him. I think he's played really well, but I think more than that, it's the attitude. It's just the way he carries himself on the pitch. He's they called him the butcher of Amsterdam, and I totally get it. He just takes no prisoners out there. He gives 100%. He plays with fire. I could use all of the stereotypes to describe him, but it's perfect. I see why Ten Hag wanted him. That's the kind of personality you want in the dressing room when you're trying to build what Ten Hag is building. I mean, he's trying to rebuild a broken team, and I think you need those kind of personalities around the team to do it. I know we're probably going to get to Anthony here in a little bit, but I think there's another player that he wants in for that reason. He's the player that seems like he's got that kind of attitude to him as well, from what I've seen. So yeah, I think he's great. I think him and Varane have played really well the last two matches. I think exactly what you said about the biggest concern is, does Varane stay fit? That's my fear, is that we're 1 to 2 matches away from that happening, and all of a sudden you're playing Martinez and Maguire next to each other, and we saw that didn't work out so well a couple games ago. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully they can stay fit. If I was Harry Maguire, I would start to have really real concerns about my future as a United player. And we just talked about Bruno as well. I think he's played well as the captain, and that's maybe someone I would look to have the armband on a little bit more prolonged basis going forward.
So for anyone that is watching live, you can get your questions in here to me and Kyle. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, or on YouTube, you can just post them in on the side here, and Facebook as well. Just put them in the comment section. Same with Twitter. Anthony, you had mentioned it looks like 100 million has been potentially agreed for Manchester United. I want to talk a little bit about transfer fees and stuff like that. I lost all hope or faith in any type of value for transfer fees these days. So when Manchester United or anyone else is paying 50, 80, 100 million for a player, honestly, it goes right over my head. I'm not concerned. I'm not bothered. We go all the way back to Michael Carrick with this. Michael Carrick, I think we bought for 18, 19 million at the time. People said that was double what he was worth. But we all know how that turned out. Transfer fees are just transfer fees. At the end of the day, the player can't decide what they are. It does add extra pressure. But at the end of the day, I couldn't care if Manchester United paid 2 billion for Anthony as long as Erik ten Hag wants him. Yep. I'll go with that. Every one of his signings have been a 5 out of 5 so far. So if he wants Anthony, I'm all for it. I don't care how much they pay for him. I really don't. People get hung up about that these days. I used to in the past, but nowadays it's like, you know what? I think I just seen, was it Nottingham Forest that paid like 45 million to Wolves for a player that was on loan at Sheffield United last year? I mean, yeah, it's crazy like that. It was insane. And I'm like, 44, are you having a laugh? So I've given up on transfer. But that said, a couple of comments about Anthony is that, obviously these players are good players until Manchester United are linked with them, and then all of a sudden they're terrible players, and people delve into how bad they are, how many goals he's gotten. If Erik ten Hag wants them, I'll have them. I have heard that, I have seen on social media, a few people have commented that, one of the good things about Anthony is that, and I have a very good friend that's an Ajax season ticket holder. One of the good things that he does is track back. We can criticize a few of our players that don't, Elanga being one of the main ones that doesn't. Rashford from time to time does, but Anthony is part of his game. I see that as a major plus. Our current right back position isn't the best. Wan-Bissaka and Dalot. Either of them, you really you question both of them in when they play. Will this help these guys with Anthony's the way he plays and the way he tricks back. I think it's a plus. I think we're getting a 2-for-1 in this type of player. What's your thoughts on Anthony?
Yeah, first of all, the transfer fees. Yeah, I don't get bothered by it. It's all silly now. Like the amount of money being thrown around, and I think more than anything, it's just people like having something to talk about, so it's something to talk about. But yeah, it doesn't really bother me. I guess at the end of the day, you could make the argument. Well, you could buy 2 or 3 players for that, but really. Could you? It seems like anytime United gets involved, it's the clubs are demanding 50 million, plus. So
I'm sorry to cut across you, but not just that. It's like Casemiro. One of the biggest complaints, our rivals are, he's too old. He's 30 years of age. And then when you point out the age of Salah and De Bruyne, and Silva at Chelsea, all of a sudden he's not too old. He's actually younger than all them. So
yeah,
Manchester United definitely gets a bigger scope because we sell, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. They're the story. It's even when we're not really contending for titles, it's still the what the old saying of hated or why can't I not think of it?
Hated, adored, never ignored.
Yeah, hated, adored, never ignored. I couldn't get it in the end. But yeah, it was it's just silly to have these discussions about the transfer fees and everything. At the end of the day, I also think too, it's like I think a lot of United fans like being miserable, which is an interesting thing. But you look at it and it's like
over the past 9 years, we've kind of have every reason to be miserable.
We do. But you look at it, my point being is you look at 2 or 3 weeks ago, things are not going well. Things are terrible, in fact. And, we're talking about the fact that the manager's not being back, That's everything. And fair play with the manager's not being back. Now we've gone out and he has identified Anthony as a player. This is the player I want. This is the player that I need. He is something different than what I have in this team right now. I need him for my plans. And they've signed him. And now it's too much money. Everyone's moaning about that. And it's like, well, they did what you wanted. 2 weeks ago was back the manager. Now they've gotten him the player that he wanted. I don't think De Jong's going to happen. That's probably the player he wanted the most. But Anthony was the other player that he really wanted. Well, they got him that one. So they've backed the manager. So, it's like at the end of the day, you have to pay what the other club asked for. So, yeah, it's a lot of money, but that's the player they wanted, that the manager wanted. Ajax said, we want 100 million euros. All right, here's 100 million euros. That's the end of that. The other, I think tracking back is a big thing because I think right back is probably, to me, the biggest concern of a position right now. I would say right winger and right back were probably the 2 biggest concerns. I think you could throw goalkeeper in there probably as well. I wouldn't mind having someone who could challenge De Gea. I'm not saying someone who can necessarily replace him, but somebody that either pushes him or can step in if we need to, because De Gea has been a little error prone. But I think
would you have taken Sergio Romero back?
I would have, yeah. I loved Romero. I was sad when we let him go. It didn't really make sense to me at the time, but and he seemed happy in the he seemed fairly happy in the role. He seemed happy at the club until obviously things ended very poorly in the end. But I think the Anthony is going to be hopefully a great signing. I have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of him, but Ten Hag so far has pretty much nailed every signing that he's asked for. I love what I've seen of Eriksen so far. I love what I've seen of Martinez so far. I love what I've seen of Malacia so far. So we haven't really seen a lot of Casemiro, but I think we've seen enough of him at Madrid to know that he's a great player, and hopefully it's going to work out at United. Hopefully this is another one that works out well. Hopefully it provides a little bit of cover at right back if he is really excellent at tracking back. The other thing I've read is he's left-footed, and I know that that's something that it seems like Ten Hag really wanted, was a left-footed right winger who could cut in and kind of run at players and come in and take those shots on his left foot. So hopefully that's something as well. I've watched a couple highlights. It seems like he's a good crosser as well, which I know so getting some delivery into the box is something we could use some help with too. So
One of the things that you would mention, which was, Manchester United fans being, happy 1 minute, completely, down in the dumps the next, and the world has collapsed here. I mean, that's every club in the world is like that. No matter what sport you have, you have your ups and your downs. But I think we certainly do have, and maybe it's because of the volume of fan that we have. But I do believe that football has evolved over the past, 10, 15 years or so, that it becomes more of a supporting a player than it does a club, which is kind of sad to see, because
Yeah.
I'm club first and then everything else second. Um, I mean, my theory on our own supporters complaining about spending 100 million is because they don't want to give the Glazers anything of a positive light, and I think they believe that by saying, "Yay, we've gone out and spent 100 million," people lump in and go, "Oh my God, you're a Glazer apologist because you're happy we spent 100 million on a player." Don't let them, get them out. People need to be able to basically part them and say, "I'm happy that we have spent 100 million on a player that our manager wants." That doesn't mean that I want the owners to still be here. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, if they weren't here, someone else will be paying it. So, and I think that's the reason why we get a section of support that are afraid to go, "Great, we've spent 100 million on this player." The 100 million shouldn't really come into it. Let's be honest. It's not something that is in our control. And nowadays, over the past 5, 6, 7 years, transfer fees have completely just, they're just, it's fairy tale. It's just numbers, random numbers that clubs throw out and people pay it. So that's my honest belief, is that I think people are afraid to be happy about the fact that we bought them, because then it leads to them being happy about having to spend 100 million, and then a lot of people will lump on top of them and go, "Oh my God, you're a Glazer apologist. This is ridiculous. This is what's wrong with our fan base." When in fact, if they looked at themselves, they probably realize they're part of that issue. You mentioned, you also mentioned that Ericsson has been basically playing very, very, very well since he came in. Ericsson to me has always been an absolutely phenomenal player, no matter where he's played. He really has. He's an absolute dream of a player, and I'm so happy he's at our club. I really am. I think it was a great signing. Did people complain we got him for free? I don't know. I did see that where people were saying like, "Oh, we've only spent X amount and a free transfer," and I'm like, "Yeah, but that free transfer was Ericsson."
Yeah.
Would you complain if the free transfer was, I don't know, Mbappe? Would you be giving out then? We'd be saying, "Oh my God, we didn't pay anything for him. This is ridiculous." I don't know. One of the other things I wanted to bring up was, we obviously have, what is it now? We have until Thursday, 4 days left in the transfer window. The whole Ronaldo saga still hasn't really ended. He's come out and he said that he's going to do a tell-all in 2 weeks' time. That was about a week and a half ago. I'm not sure what that bullshit was all about, to be honest. But Ronaldo, can you see him last until Thursday? I'm honest. If I'm being honest, I don't think he will. I think something's going to happen around Tuesday or Wednesday or so. I'll be surprised if he's still here on Friday.
Yeah, I would be shocked as well. And to be honest, I'm surprised I'm saying this. I didn't feel this way earlier in the summer, but just the way things have panned out, I kind of hope that he's not here come Friday.
And listen, I'm a massive Ronaldo fan.
Yeah.
When he came back, it was my wife here now. Better than my wedding day. Not the birth of my kids, but my wedding day. The feeling that I have now is that when he wasn't on preseason tour, when he's not playing and participating, and I hate to say this, but there's a better vibe around the team. There really is. There really is a better vibe. I mean, would you agree with that? And
I agree, and I think I don't know. I kind of was getting at it with Bruno too. I just think the team plays better. I think when Ronaldo's on the pitch, everyone feels like everything is trying to be played through Ronaldo. It almost feels like everyone is trying to feed Ronaldo. It's very one-dimensional. And I think we got into trouble with that a lot last year. We were too reliant on it. Listen, Ronaldo can score you 20 plus goals a season. I think he could probably still do it this season. No doubt about it. But I'd rather have, 3 or 4, 10, 15 goal scorers in the team who spread that out and we play, more fluid, balanced attacking football than doing what we did last year, which very clearly didn't work. And yeah, I think now from like a just the vibe in the dressing room. I think it's not working with Ronaldo in there. I think I don't think it's doing any favors for morale. And I think it seems like Ten Hag has certainly had enough. I think Ronaldo probably could have started yesterday. I think he's been, he's had enough training now that he probably could have played.
Well, that was it. That was a huge, tip of the hat from Ten Hag, wasn't it? With Martial out, and he still left Ronaldo on the bench. To me, that is definite signs that even though he's, in public, Ten Hag is saying we planned with him, he's part of our team. I don't know if he was, he realistically he would have started yesterday, right? I honestly believe that was the opportunity, and you could have still got Rashford on the pitch as well, putting him out on one of the wings, and Alanga, dropped to the bench. Yesterday was a huge sign for me, and as Curler's 87 says he believes that Ronaldo will be a transfer deadline day deal. I honestly believe that as well. I think either United will just terminate his contract or he'll just move on for free. I think Manchester United are just holding out for some money from 10, 15 million. No one's willing to pay that because, they want to save that money so they can actually pay him, what he's asking for. And you are right. Ronaldo can still do it. Let's be honest. Although yesterday that one-on-one where for the life of me, I can't remember the centre back for Southampton, but outpaced him. Ooh, that was, for me, that was kind of the sign that, maybe the end is coming near. Not many centre backs or defenders could outpace Ronaldo in the past. And I know as you get older, you get slower. I've gone from a walking pace to a slow walking pace, since my 20s. So I know Ronaldo suffers the same fate as well. But yesterday was the ideal. Like you said, Ronaldo could have started and he didn't. I honestly believe he's going to be gone.
It'll just be interesting to see where he ends up. I'm curious because at this point it seems like they're literally just throwing. It seems like his agent is literally just throwing him at anyone who's in the Champions League. It's like he could end up. I don't know what club he's going to end up at this point. Like it's not. It almost seems like it's not going to be like a particularly big club that he It's not going to be like the caliber that he's been used to in the past. So it's really going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them out there. I still think Chelsea are still in with a chance. If they don't seal anyone by Tuesday or Wednesday, they could just nip in there and take him. For Ronaldo, it's probably an ideal opportunity. But I mean, Curtis here, he hit the nail on the head here. Jim Beglin said last year, but I'm not a fan of Jim Beglin, so I'm just going to say someone last year said about Ronaldo, they get to the final third of the pitch and then channel their attack through Ronaldo rather than having the other strikers play their own game. You just said this exact same thing a few minutes, Carl, that everything seems to just has to go through him. He's like, and I don't like him speaking ill of him, but I don't think it's a plan thing with the team to go, okay, every time we get the ball, give it to Ronaldo. It's not that case, it really isn't. It's not like LeBron has turned up at your high school basketball game and he's playing in your team and you got to give him the ball all the time. I just think, because of Ronaldo, the name, we still expect him to be the Ronaldo from 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, we didn't have a bad season last year. Let's be honest, 20 league goals, 20 odd league goals in total. I was banging that drum. I just don't. I don't want to drag all this up, but I got to mention is that Ronaldo knew back in May we were going to be in the Europa League. Why did he wait till July to say, "Hey, I'm out of here" because we're not in the championship? But I do believe everything is funneled. You are right. When he's on the pitch, everything seems to be funneled through him. And this is why I made the point earlier on that when he's not on the pitch, there just seems to be a better understanding and a better team play and a team ethic amongst the players subconsciously because he's not there. I really do believe that,
Yep. No, I 100% agree with that. I think it's just, it's almost like he's like a safety blanket out there for them where it's like, they get into trouble and it's like, we'll find Ronaldo, whereas, instead of doing what they, would come naturally otherwise, don't count on Ronaldo to bail you out. Play your game. That's what they should be doing. And I think you see that when Ronaldo's not on the pitch, they play their game. You saw it against Liverpool. Rashford, I thought played very well. He looked good. Sancho played very well, but we saw last year when they were playing with Ronaldo, you didn't see that every game. So I'm hoping that if they continue to play without him, if Ronaldo does leave, which I think is going to be the case, I'm really hoping that some of these players are going to have really, kind of resurgences, because they really need to after what happened last year. So.
Boomhauer says the same, with the Eriksen transfer. I think it was a massive win for us, an absolutely massive win for us. I mean, the media had it built up that he had rejected Manchester United to stay at Brentford. That was never going to happen, not in a million years. And a player of his ability, and let's be honest here, I know he's got to be grateful to Brentford, and but if Manchester United come calling, 99.9% of players come to United if they have that desire. And that leads me on to my next question, which is, like I said, we got 4 or 5 days left of the transfer window. Do you see us doing any more business after, Anthony?
I think there will be. It seems like there's going to be a goalkeeper. I'm not 100% sure who. Seems like.
Well, I believe it's that guy off Newcastle. That
I was going to say.
I'm not going to try and butcher his name.
Yeah, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to say his name because I think we're going to get it wrong. But it seems like there's some negotiations going on with Newcastle right now. So I
think there's going to be anything like significant for Manchester? I personally think there's another twist in the transfer. Whether that's Ronaldo's going to go, but I personally believe that there's going to be one more signing that's going to be up there with a regular first team. I honestly believe that. I don't think this is the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced. I just think they ended up spending more on Antony than I think they had planned. So I'm not sure how much more they're going to end up investing. I would love to get a right back in more than anything in the world, just because I don't have a lot of faith in that position. I just don't know who's out there and who they'd be able to get.
And that's the biggest problem is who is out there. We missed out on Trippier last year. I think we should have brought him in. I really do. I mean, there's no one really out there. Right backs and left backs are like hen's teeth. They're very, very rare and hard to get. I just don't believe there's anyone really good out there. And even, when you look at the Liverpool team, as much as I don't like to mention that name, it's even their right back's not really a right back. He's a terrible defender, but he's an absolutely fantastic player once he crosses that halfway line. But yet they build Alexander up to be the best in the world. And defensive wise, I think he's shocking. I really do. There's not really that much out there, but you think there's a little bit more business in there. Curlers has here you go. You can try the name. I'll let you try it.
Dubravka.
I'll go with that as well. Dubravka.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We're both in the United States. The one name I have seen here and there, and he played it would fit the profile because he played at Ajax, was Dest at Barcelona, because he's been completely frozen out of that team. I don't know if that's something that's realistic or not. I don't know.
Is that a dream for you with a fellow countryman going to Manchester United?
I don't know. The American thing has never really worked out with United, has it? Tim Howard.
I don't know. Tim Howard was. Yeah. He was good on his day,
there, but it never really made the breakthrough. And then, and then since then it's never really, it's never really happened. So, maybe that's it. I know that there's been and then there it is on the screen. I don't know if Pulisic is actually going to happen, but I'd rather focus on right back. So I'm Dest could be an interesting option out there. Just because, like I said, right back is such a concerning area right now in this team. I really am happy with kind of what we have in all of our other positions. That's just the one that just feel like we need something else, especially because I think they would get rid of Wan-Bissaka if an option was out there. So
100%.
I'd love to be surprised with a right back.
Pulisic for me, and I mean, when he went from Dortmund to Chelsea, I've got a couple of lifelong Chelsea fans, good friends. And, they didn't know a hell of a lot about him. Obviously, me living here in the US, you would hear about him quite regularly. And I'd see him at Dortmund, and I said, you're getting some player. I think the problem with Pulisic is he's in the wrong team. I don't think Tuchel can wedge him into that team. I think a team like Manchester United, he would. I was speaking to these guys the other day, and I said, if we got him, and one of them said he's the ideal player for Manchester United. He just doesn't fit into theirs. I know he wanted that deal. That's what we're led to believe. And I definitely would have taken him. But there is more concerning problems that we need to fix. And if we get to Anthony, I'm not sure Pulisic is, why bring a player in that's probably not going to get 90 minutes every week. Because then we'd be overloaded with attacking options, and missing out on key areas like you said, the right back. But for now, the lot for me is doing an okay job, but there's always a mistake in that guy. There's always a mistake.
Yeah. He offers a little more going forward, but yeah, it's the same thing. Like with Wan-Bissaka, like there's nothing going forward. Like Dalot at least offers a little something there, but yeah, you're right. There's always a mistake.
always. So overall, happy with the win at Southampton. Like I said, it wasn't a mesmerizing game, even at 4:30 in the morning. I'm sure my neighbors were happy because I was very low key. But for me, it was more of a team performance, and we're starting to build a really good team momentum going here. David De Gea did well. I thought he had a very decent game. There's always a couple of mistakes in De Gea every year. Hopefully, he's got rid of those over the first two games. He did well against Liverpool, and he did very well yesterday. Yeah. Our defensive is just so much more solid. It really is. Our midfield is going to get even better. With Casemiro in there, Eriksen, Bruno starting to hopefully pitch on from where he got from his goal at the weekend, which was a very, very good goal, as we agreed. Going forward, if we don't get rid of Ronaldo and we have Anthony coming in, who's your people up front? I mean, we seem to be playing kind of like three attackers up front. Who are you going for?
That is a hard question. Let's assume Ronaldo goes first. I would say I you know what? I don't even know if it really changes the answer all that much. Just because I think Ten Hag has identified a way that he wants to play, and I don't think Ronaldo fits that. So I think at the end of the day, I think you're going to see Antony on the right mostly. I think up front, the strikers are going to be either Martial or I think Rashford's probably going to get moved into the middle, just because now we are starting to get a little bit more depth on the wings. And I could see Sancho making a move over to the left to accommodate Antony. So I would say that's probably the front three you're looking at moving forward for most games. And I'd be pretty happy with that. That's a pretty fluid, interchangeable front three that could do a lot of damage. So I don't know. What do you think of the front three?
I would agree on both the wingers. I think we're not going to spend $100 million on a player and not play him. I think it might take a little bit of time for him to get into Premier League's a completely different beast. Let's be honest, and it's completely different even in the positions, whether a defender adapting to the Premier League is very different than a midfielder adapting to the Premier League. Because I'll be honest with you, a midfielder can hide a little bit. We can't. A defender and a striker can't, because they're judged by what they concede and what they score. But for me, it's definitely going to be a Sancho, the Antony one for me. And here's where I have my dilemma. Anthony Martial, I've been heavy critical of his performance, his mood, his atmosphere over the past couple of years. When we moved him out to Spain on loan, I thought that's it. But even they didn't want him. I honestly believe because I've looked back through a few old videos of, I don't want to say old, but I'm talking that long ago, when he was hitting his best form. And I know it's an old cliche on strikers, they play on confidence, but for Martial, I think it's more so than anything else is his mental strength, is his confidence. And I thought it was a huge boost for him to be in ahead of Ronaldo. And then obviously he got injured. If we're to see the best of him this season, I think he has to start every game. I think that's what will get him. And unfortunately for Rashford, that means he's fighting it out with Jadon Sancho on the left. That's the way it's going to be. I think we're going to get the best out of Martial. It's not coming off the bench, because his mood just drops. That's all he cares about is playing. Let's give him 3 or 4 or 5 games. Things don't change. Well, then, we, like you said, we have a good interchange there with Rashford. But for me, if Martial's fit and I was disappointed he wasn't yesterday because I'm a little bit excited about him. I've seen him in preseason. Preseason's preseason,
yeah,
but it's the effort he put in. It really was. It was the effort. It was the link-up play. Then he got back into the team, and now he's injured again. He had that fantastic pass for Rashford's goal. He just seems to be happy, and I know he's happy because when he's on the pitch, and that may sound like a bit of a two-faced thing, because normally when he's on the pitch he's sulking, but that's normally because he's just being brought on and he's not being really part of the team. I think to get the best out of that guy, we really, really have to start playing him and give him 4 or 5 games to get a good run. Just to jump in with Curtis, that the defense again is solid, all in the line and making sure that off the ball runs are closed down. That's a very, very good point, because I think that's one of the things that Harry Maguire lacks, is the ability to know when danger is coming. I really believe that, and I think Martinez, he sniffs it out. Varane does 100% sniff it out, but I think Martinez, he has that key element to him that he can see the danger. Harry Maguire is just, I don't want to bash him, you know what I mean? But if I am going to say something negative about the guy, it's that for me, he's never been able to understand danger when it's coming at him. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just seems like with Maguire, it's like I can almost see it coming before he can. Like, watching the game, I can feel my heart drop sometimes, because it's like we're about to get scored on. Like, you could just see it happening, and he's not picking up on it. I mean, here's the thing is, and I expect this of any United player. It's like, okay, I think the problem with Maguire is his place in the team was always guaranteed because he was the captain. And I don't agree with that for anybody, but I think this is good. Like, this needed to happen. And, as with any player at any big club, especially at United, it's like, this is how you respond to it. You either respond and you step up your game and you learn how to fix those mistakes, learn how to read the game, learn how to identify when you're in danger and address it, fix the problems that led to you getting benched, or he's going to be gone in a year probably, because he's not going to be playing regularly at United. But that's how it is for any player at any team. I mean, but for too long, Maguire, was not held, he wasn't held accountable for anything just because he was the captain and he got to play because just with no regard to his form. So,
well, as you can see, we've been busy here on the podcast while
I just saw Fabrizio.
While Wayne is lounging around in London, having parties and barbecues, which you and I weren't invited to, by the way. He's just announced that, Romano, who is the man for transfers, has says that the Anthony deal is done. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the fact that Manchester United have got the player that the manager wants. Agreement of principle. Well, I asked 100 million fee, contract till June 27, option till 2028. I'm happy with that. But it does lead me back to Wayne's original question, which was, where's the money coming from? Who cares?
Yeah,
I know Wayne's going to bash me for saying that. But at the end of the day, Manchester United is Manchester United. If Wayne, you're equating to the fact that, are we going in with an investment firm, like it was rumored a few weeks ago that an investment firm was going to buy a big chunk of Manchester United, just to loan them money so they can get, TV rights and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not sure where the money's coming from. At the end of the day, we generate our own money. 100 million on him. What's that bring us up to? About just short of 200 million for the year, for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a regular Manchester United transfer window? I'm not sure why it's a big concern this year. I
think over 150 of it just Ajax, so you're welcome to them.
Well, maybe this is all a ploy by Ten Hag. He leaves in 3 months. He goes back to Ajax and he has 150 million to spend.
It's a nice little parting gift, right? No, and for all the people that are that are against the owners and don't like the Glazers, here's what I would say too is, this is 100 million euros that's going to a player that the manager wants and not going into the owner's pocket. So at the end of the day, I will always take that over the alternative. So very, very pleased that this deal is getting done.
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm happy that they have, the club has finally started to buy some players. I don't know how much of a rumor this is true, but rumors are rumors, and that's all they are. But my understanding was that Ten Hag had basically got to a point with the board where it was kind of like, hey, you're making this, an impossible job. Could we have seen Ten Hag walk away if his only signings were, the free transfer and the fairly cheap left back? Who was the third player we signed?
Martinez.
Martinez. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart there. It wouldn't have surprised me because that would have only come to about what, 50, 60 million?
Yeah, at that point that would have only been like 60, 65 million euros.
Roughly that, yeah. But I'm not sure whether that is true, where he said that, I could walk, is because I think if they knew if he had a walk, which let's be honest, football throws up all kinds of surprises, maybe that's the reason why Ronaldo was pissed that we haven't bought any, we haven't signed him. We know Wayne Rooney had the same attitude many, many years ago when he went into Ferguson and said, this club isn't going in the direction that I want. And I know he went out of that office with his tail between his legs. But it gave Ferguson and the club, a kick up the ass and say, go buy players. Would you buy into the fact that Ten Hag had to sit down with the board again and go, this is not what I signed up to, because all of a sudden now we're splashing out all this money?
Yeah. I mean, it's and kudos to Ten Hag if that is really what happened, because there are plenty of managers that have been at United in the past who have just kind of rolled with it. As much as I love Solskjaer, it just seemed like he just kind of rolled with the punches instead of fighting for it. It does not seem like Ten Hag is that kind of person. I love his attitude so far. He fights for what he wants. He fights for the team. And I'm very, very, very pleased with the attitude that he's brought so far, and the fact that he's fighting for what he needs to accomplish the job and get us back to where we should be, which is competing for titles. Like you said, it's all rumors, and we don't know exactly what's going on behind closed doors and in the boardroom. But it would not shock me if he was making some very serious threats in order to get some things done.
Carlos makes a valid point, and I brought this up a few weeks ago, is that they were calling Jurgen Klopp a genius for spending 100 million on the Argentinian Andy Carroll. Now that'll probably come back to haunt me, but he hasn't really set the world alight, which we know it's difficult in the Premier League. But to be calling Jurgen Klopp a genius for spending 100 million on a player that he took from the Portuguese league, and the thing that we get bashed with when we bought Casemiro. Everyone else was saying, well, why weren't the big clubs in for him? Why weren't all the other big clubs in? You know why? Because he went from the second biggest club in the world to the biggest club in the world. So no one else mattered, okay? And here we have, Klopp spending 100 million on Nunez, and he's been labeled a genius. I mean, yeah. How does that work? It just shows you that the bias towards Manchester United.
We know what it is. It's United. If it was any other club in the world, we would not be having this discussion right now. But it's United, and we spent 100 million euros. So we know what Sky Sports and BBC and certainly TalkSport will be talking about for the next several months. I mean, we just did TalkSport a huge favor. That Gabby Agbonlahor is going to be having an absolute field day. So,
well, I mean, the only time I give Klopp praise was when he came out there last week and said that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's and he threw out that thing about. I remember playing them at Anfield, and we beat them 6-0, and he wasn't a mentality monster then either. So I found that very funny. He said he was nearly on the verge of ringing into the show. But Wayne brings up, he likes Anthony, though. His ball control is exceptional. And his movement, albeit in a fairly weak league, seems so exciting. Good to see the manager back. Seems more planned, even though it's late in comparison to Falcao and Di Maria. And this is what I mean about the Casemiro signing, is that all managers have a list, and they have a preferred list. They've got a backup list, and they have, I'd love that. I would guarantee you that Casemiro was I'd love that, but it's probably never going to happen. I do believe the Anthony deal was part of Ten Hag coming and saying, hey, if there's a couple of players I want Timber, I want Martinez, and I want Anthony. If I can get any of them, he's got 2 of the 3. Timber signed a new contract. I'm happy with our centre backs. I will not have a bad thing say about Di Maria. I know he left in terrible circumstances, but I'm 100% behind the fact that Louis van Gaal may have got him pushed on him, and Di Maria by the club. And Di Maria was he was the pawn and all that. And his first couple of games, that game against Leicester, oh my God. But his first couple of games, and he was absolutely phenomenal. And I thought he was going to do really well. And then Louis van Gaal played him out of position. And then then we had the story about the false break in and stuff like that. And it didn't end well. But for me, Di Maria, he's not the bad guy in all this. I really don't believe that. But Wayne is right. It isn't a Wednesday, Thursday. All of a sudden, Anthony's name comes up and we're spending 100 million on him, and then people are going to say, "Oh my God, this club doesn't know what they're doing." I believe it was because we've been chasing this guy for a while now, and I'm just happy that we have him.
Yep.
So, if medical happens in the next day or two, could we see him on the bench against Leicester on Thursday?
I think so. It said I think the tweet, the "Here we go" tweet, love a good "Here we go" tweet when it involves United. We haven't had we had a long we got the business done early in July, and then we were left to wait a little bit to get these last couple signings in. But yeah, it sounds like he's signing the contract tomorrow. So I would guess he's probably getting the medical, hopefully tomorrow, signing the contract. And I would think Thursday is enough time to get you on the bench. Maybe do the same thing that Casemiro did and make a late appearance. Maybe get 20 minutes on Thursday.
Yeah. One last question: would you make any changes for Leicester?
I think.
Come on, it's McTominay for Casemiro.
I think it might be the end of Scott McTominay. I think it might be the end of Scott McTominay. I think Casemiro's got his introduction to the Premier League yesterday morning, and that's I think he starts from the beginning on Thursday. That to me is probably maybe the only change. I guess it depends on how Martial's recovery goes. They didn't go all the way in. I don't think they said the full extent of his injury. Anytime you're talking about an Achilles, those injuries can be a little scary. But it sounded like he might be fit in time for Leicester, potentially Arsenal. So that would be the only other player that I would maybe see getting into the team. So
and would you put him in ahead of Rashford?
I would probably take. I'd probably take Alonga out and put Rashford back on the wing for this game. I don't know. To me, Alonga is still not quite the finished product. I'd honestly like to see him get a loan, maybe with Anthony coming in. That's a possibility. Although
maybe we could have made it part of the deal and not maybe.
Yeah, I've seen a couple Ajax fans complaining about that. That is one thing I wanted to say. I've seen a couple Ajax fans complaining that Anthony getting United coming in so late with the bid for Anthony, and Anthony getting sold now. It leaves them with not enough time to get in a new attacker in. They've run out of time. It's like, I happen to know a 37-year-old striker, if they're interested, that might be available. So
yeah,
maybe they should keep an open line of communication for the next couple of days with United.
Exactly, and they're in the Champions League.
Yeah, they're in the Champions League. So I mean, I'm just saying, there's a club that there might be a discussion to be had there.
Well, Kyle, great to have you on. Great to be doing the show with you. I hope this becomes a more regular thing on a Sunday morning. For anyone that's listening back, if you're listening back on any of the audio platforms, please give us a like, give us a 5-star or a 1-star if you want. Well, we'd appreciate a 5-star. Give us some feedback, anything else you want us to discuss on these shows. We've got numerous shows throughout the week on a regular basis. We got the Monday show with Wayne Barton, if he's back from his barbecuing in London, with Paul Parker. And on Friday nights, we have an absolutely fantastic show with Keane and former Manchester United players. Phil Marsh and Lee Lawrence, which is always a good watch. It really is. It's Keane hosts a great show. We got two former ex-Manchester United players that just know what it takes to play for Manchester United, and they just see it from a completely different perspective than the emotionally, savage brains of us supporters who just think it's black and white when it's not. So give those shows a look. Everything else on our channel is up there as well. So we appreciate everyone that tuned in today. We appreciate all the questions. Kyle, got anything else? Anything final to say? Are we making a charge up that table now? Are we? I don't like talking about top four. I just want top one.
Yeah, let's keep going. I would love to get a win on Thursday, and then hopefully we can make a dent in my wife's team's title ambition.
Oh yeah, your wife's an Arsenal fan, right?
Yes. Our dog's name is Percy, since Robin Van Persie played for both.
And that's okay for you,
Yeah, it's great. I was like, well, Robin won the Premier League with us, so
Yeah. So I mean, I think one of the final questions is, we obviously play Arsenal next Sunday. How comfortable is the couch? Have you got a backup plan like Casemiro?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be me and Percy on the couch next weekend. But
you'll be happy, because we'll have won.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I can have a bad back for a couple of days if we leave with 3 points. So,
all right then, Kyle. As always, thank you very much. I hope you have a good, solid week. For anyone else listening in, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Give us a like if you're following back. If you are following us, please give us some feedback and give us some ratings, and we really appreciate that. But that's it for this week. Coming up, we got a really busy week on Manchester United. We have the transfer windows ending. We got Leicester on Thursday. We got Arsenal at the weekend. A really, really big week for Manchester United. So up the Reds.